let's talk about the flat 2. It's a fascinating chord, equally capable of conjuring flashes of brilliance, exotic flourishes, and even dark, sinister turns, depending on its use. Now, you might know that in musical analysis, we map chords to numbers or Roman numerals that indicate their position in the key, as well as their quality, capital for major, lowercase for minor, and a degree symbol for diminished. As I lay out the Roman numerals for the chords in a major key, let's say C, you'll notice there's 1 through 7, but no flat 2. And that's because the Roman numeral system is often centered around the chords that are diatonic to the major tonality. And so, to get a flat 2 chord, we have to make a chromatic alteration to the natural 2 chord that exists, lowering it by a semitone. So, in C, our 2 chord is D minor. To get the flat 2, we lower its root to D flat. And now we're left with a question about how to spell the rest of the chord. And should it be a major chord, a minor chord, or something else entirely? Well, often enough, a good place to start is by making it major. So we spell it here as D flat, F, A flat. And by supplanting our usually minor 2 chord with this major flat 2 chord, we can bring an unexpected spark of light to the predominant function this chord usually fulfills. Predominant means setting up or leading to the dominant, the 5 chord. And this is a common way you would have heard this chord used in the 18th and 19th centuries. And that's a cadential progression, one that gives us a feeling of conclusion. And the chord function schematic for a cadential progression like this is predominant, dominant, to tonic. More common varieties are 4-5-1 and 2-5-1, both of which sound a fair bit more conventional and tame when compared against the cadential progression using the flat 2, which sounds adventurous. And used in this context, the flat 2 is called a Neapolitan chord. And in analysis, instead of flat 2, we'll often see it written as N6. The 6 referring to the fact that the Neapolitan is preferentially used in its first inversion, with its third as the bass note, rather than the root of the chord. Because the root motion between flat 2 and 5 is a tritone, it can sound sweeter to move the root of the flat 2 chord elsewhere in the voice leading to disguise the tritone motion. But it's by no means a requirement, particularly if you like the distinctive flair of the tritone drawing attention to itself. Now, using the flat 2 in this cadential progression is a straightforward classical harmony use. But another way we can think about the flat 2 is as a borrowed chord from the parallel Phrygian mode. If you build C Phrygian, you get the following scale. And its 2 chord is the D flat major, our flat 2 chord. And thinking of it like a mode mixture chord, rather than binding it to a cadential progression, opens the door to flourishes that are idiomatic to styles of music that often use the Phrygian mode, for example, Spanish or flamenco music, or even a more liberal path as we start to dissolve the bonds of modality and harmonic function in favor of coloristic use. And why is the flat 2 on my mind? Well, that's because I explore it from some new angles in my song, Exile, which you're hearing now. Exile is a conflicted song that vacillates between destruction and salvation of a kind, or exile and asylum, in the context of the ravages of a broken relationship. Neither outcome is exactly good in the way that reconciling doesn't erase damage, nor does burning the bridge. Both outcomes are dark, and so likewise the song equivocates between rooting in the key of B flat minor and centering on the E flat, which should be Dorian mode. The first time we hear the flat 2 chord is at the end of the first chorus, when we hear the lyric, "You are my asylum." It's a bleak and icy dirge up to that point, and the only flash of warmth and hope in the whole song is this line. Underneath the flat 2 to a chromatically altered major 1, momentarily conjuring the Phrygian dominant, sounding passionate, exotic, certainly a moment of intrigue. We don't yet know what to make of this development, what it means. It's a mystery. Maybe it's hope, but the sinking root motion forewarns about getting too optimistic. After all, Asylum can also represent the tortured place you go when you've lost your mind. Now in the second and third choruses, we feel a sudden, sinister turn. That's the flat 2 again. The beginning of the chorus is rooted in B flat minor, so the sudden appearance of a C flat major chord, its flat 2, destabilizes the footing of the key, giving rise to that ambivalence and, at the same time, executes a median relationship between the chords C flat to E flat, which is a part of where that wrathful sound comes from. Now, moving on, the end of the bridge, building into the return of the final chorus, gives us that tonal harmony cadential use of the Neapolitan, C flat to F to B flat minor, which not only rallies us into a moment of arrival when the chorus comes back, but also sets us up for a misdirect at the end of the chorus, where we might expect an emphatic conclusion to resolve the song on 1. But I already told you, it's not that kind of song. We get every marker you could imagine for climactic buildup, punctate chords, abbreviated vocal phrasing, and another cadential setup of flat 2 to 5. But instead of resolving expectedly, we deceptively slide into 4. The E flat leaves us unsettled, without closure, torn between 2 tonalities and nothing to hold on to but the vague, pyrrhic hope of Asylum. And that's the many and diverse uses of the flat 2 chord. You've been listening to the instrumental of Exile. To hear the whole song with lyrics, check the links below. Thanks for watching. I'm Sahar Galt. I'll see you next time.